Hello, Burkard. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Could you introduce yourself in just a few sentences?
Yeah. My name is Burkard Schemmel. I'm running the North European sales organization at Maersk. And as one of my hobbies, I've been working on the topic of business ethics for quite a few years, and especially on the area of business ethics and financial impact and financial monetization. And that's a topic that is very close to my heart since many years, as I started exploring the question around what is the most ethical company during my time where I worked at Amazon many years ago.
Wow. And you also just completed your PhD, is that correct?
Indeed.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. It was a lot of work, as you can imagine, but also very rewarding, obviously.
So tell me more about that. What was challenging, but what was the reward?
So I think for me, one of the most interesting things is obviously that I always wanted to bring the topic of business ethics out of an academic discussion into the practice. And I also wanted to bring it out of a pure reporting exercise and link it to financial benefits. And that's actually the scope of my work, but also the scope of my research and my personal passion, that I said there must be a way to prove that ethically operating businesses are financially more successful. And as nobody else has been able to prove this before at the scale and at the professionalism and at the details, especially on the short run, as you can imagine, it was a lot of work, and that was your question, right? How can we come to it? It was a lot of work to come up with a holistic instrument that we make ethics measurable, and then to apply it to a decent amount of companies in Europe, and then to basically really draw the conclusions around the linkage from which factors actually, from an ethical point of view, drive financial performance at the end.
So, which?
I know you would ask that.
Yes.
It's actually 120 questions that we structured around 6 core principles. And one of the principles that is always super important is the area of leadership and the area of ethical leadership, or as we call it, altruocentric leadership. Because we found out in our research that many results from an ethical point of view are actually driven by leaders' decisions or employees' decision on a daily basis. And if you are able to influence them in a positive way, then you're able to influence the results overall. So if you ask me what is the single most impactful point, then it's clearly around how leaders work with their team and their employees and in the whole organization around ethical conduct, and how they make sure that ethical standards and guidelines are really set through and followed through.
I think this is highly interesting because it is something very impactful, but very difficult to measure.
Yep.
Because it's transported by human capital.
Yep.
Right, so very interesting. So have your studies influenced your behavior in your practical work and your behavior?
I would say yes, and I would also say it's a mutual or a bidirectional influence. Because how I came to this topic was actually that I was working with public sector entities, mostly in Germany, in my role at Amazon. And it was really hard to convince companies around all the good things that Amazon at that time would be doing in Germany in terms of societal value, employee rights, and so on. And then I realized that, and that actually sparked my interest to work on the topic of business ethics, because I thought, if it's so difficult to come across and to structure this, then I think we need a measurement so that it can be easily followed up and easily structured. And that was actually the driver of my work, of my research, but also of the consulting practice that I built on top of it. And likewise then, or retrospective then, when I look forward then, on an everyday discussion that I'm having in my role at Maersk, there's a lot of ethical questions that actually we need to solve. Like in global logistics, you have constant changes in the supply chain, you have constant disruptions, and you need to react to them. And these reactions all have an ethical component because they inform at the end whether you transport cargo or not, and at which price, and how do you change price points over time within a contract or even beyond a contract. And these things are at the end all ethical questions. And the key factor here is that through my work, I was really able to bring the idea of leadership, what I mentioned earlier, into my whole organization and even beyond. And that's, I think, very rewarding and very satisfactory.
It is always good to be able to transfer theory into practice.
Indeed.
I think, yeah.
Indeed.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for adding to this research field. I would like to ask why you picked EIM.
So I think there's multiple reasons, obviously. One is for sure the very structured program that EIM has. Because in many PhD programs that I've seen in my network of friends, or also through my own research, you actually never know when you are done, and you never know what needs to be true to really complete the final work. And here, I think EIM has a very structured approach to really completing a high level, or not a high level, high quality work in a decent amount of time. And obviously, the time is always short, and you can't have too many shortcuts, but you can at least have a structure that helps you to really work along this structure with a clear output every week. And I think that's in the roles where we are, where the time is always short and where we have a lot to do in our daily jobs. That is very helpful. And then the next argument is for sure the professors that are around, because they are very practice-oriented, but at the same time, they have the highest academic rigor that I've ever seen.
Wow.
And I think this combination is also very good. It's not easy, because the high academic rigor leads to a lot of work on the side of the PhD candidate. But on the other hand, it guarantees that the results are really following all the standards that are required and all the best practices that are around. And I think that's very important, because obviously, once you complete your work, you want to complete your work and you want to have an impact on a practical side, but you also want to make sure that the theoretical component is really up to the best standard possible, so that when you present it later, there is no questions asked about the structural methodology one has applied.
I think it's always about a healthy mixture of everything, and it sounds like it combines all of that.
Absolutely.
So if you had to describe EIM in 3 words, which ones would you pick?
I would say highly professional, highly practical oriented, and at the same time grounded by people who are really interesting to work with. Because that's the other argument. Like we had been in touch earlier, obviously I've been in touch with many other professors or PhD candidates, and those are all people that are really interesting in a sense that you really want to engage with them and interact with them. And I think that is very important. If you spend so much time over a long period of 3 years or even more potentially, then you want to make sure you spend the time with people that you really like working with.
Yeah, I agree. I also think a very important aspect is networking and the global networking opportunity, because in today's business world, networking is a really important thing.
Yeah, indeed. And just to give you an idea, with another PhD candidate, we've just been talking since a few weeks, where the results of my work commenced a bit further on, and he is highly interested in bringing that into his consulting practice. Wow. And we've even started discussing today again, can we build a joint business around it? Can we jointly go to customers with it? And likewise with his work as well. So I think there's a lot of also good business outcomes that you can drive from this network and these contacts, and what you can really apply immediately.
That's amazing. So you're not enhancing your academic career, you're also influencing your professional career.
Yeah.
That is really, really good. So usually the PhD is the start of an academic career. What is next for you? What are you planning?
Yeah, and that's a good question. To be honest, I haven't finally decided. For me, I took this program for various reasons, and one reason was that I really wanted to work on the topic of ethical monetization in a very large detail and in a very professional manner, because I want to build a business out of it. And then the next step obviously could be that you can also combine that with further academic work. One thing that for sure is on the radar is that the certificate that we have been issuing around ethical companies, we plan to repeat that every year. So we plan to bring a yearly study around, and we would do that with an academic partner, with EIM.
Nice.
So that's actually one very clear thing. And then beyond that, there is a lot of many more ideas. Obviously, there's a lot of research gaps after the work, which would be great for further PhD candidates or for MBAs. So I think there's a lot that I can think of that we can do. On the other hand, I also have to be realistic. It's a lot of work, and I don't want to do things just for the sake of doing it. And so I need to figure out how I bring that into my work practice and into my life practice as well.
Yeah, totally. I think that is the difficulty to find the right balance, especially when you enjoy something so much.
Indeed.
Well, I certainly look forward to keep working with you. It is a pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you so much for your time today, and enjoy the event.
Thank you. I will.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye now.